Hey there. I wanted to make a video of everything I ride because that's probably the most common question I get, and I kind of wanted to talk about my setup. I wrote some paragraphs about it, but I wanted to do this in video format just so I can kind of rant and say what I'm thinking about my setup here with you. So starting from the bottom to the grip tape, I'll start with wheels and then we'll go from there. So I normally ride the 75 millimeter 74A Alphas, Chase Hiller Pro Spec. I really like these because I primarily race and I really like these on the racetrack. I find that they're extremely consistent and they do everything you want them to do. They have good edge grip, they have really good slowdown, and when they're fresh they slide the same, they slide exactly the same every single time, and that's really important to me. I feel really comfortable on them, so whatever is happening in front of me I can kind of just slide and figure it out from there. It kind of just lets me do what I want when I want, and I really like that. When the skin is gone, they're perfect open road wheel. They don't want to kill you, but I prefer riding open roads on downhill wheels just because I kind of like having that edge. I know I can kick it out if I need to slide, but if I really need to get around a corner and there's a car or there's something going on, I have an edge grip that I like having. So yeah, when the skin comes off, they're really fun free ride wheels, really fun open road wheels, and really good to get into like the faster free ride aspect of things. You can also check out the 76A Mango Alphas, and those are really good to get into the fast free ride. Trucks. For trucks, I ride Rogue ZM1s, the newest Rogues. I really like them. Before these, I was riding the 2020 Gold Rogues, and they were awesome. I was expecting a bit more. I was expecting that they were going to be a bit more aggressive, but they're actually very stable, very good, very nice for slides. Kind of let you do what they want, but at the same time, it's a bit lacking when you're really trying to rail a corner. But then the ZM1s kind of turn those up to 10, and so they have spherical bearings in both pivots and in the inserts, and that kind of gives them it gives them a lot more input and a lot more board feel. You can really feel what the wheels are doing, and there's really no lag whatsoever between your input and then what the board is going to do. So I was lucky enough to be riding these for about a year before they came out, so I've been on these for about 2 years now. And I've been really happy with them. I've done a lot of racing on them, but I've also just done a lot of open road and free ride on them, and I've always enjoyed them. The newest batch has a 20-degree rear base plate, but I actually prefer the 23-degree base plate that they did prototypes and I believe the first run with. It's a bit more aggressive, and it's a bit more. You lose a bit of grip because it wants to turn and kind of wants to rotate, and you might get a little oversteer and I've actually been having a bit of a problem with oversteer and having to kick the front out. The rear will come out, and then I have to kick the front out or else I'm going to flip. But I've been playing around with it, and I really like it. I've tuned it to be able to ride it like this, and I think with freshies it's a bit more aggressive, and it suits riding with freshies more than it does with scrubs, but at the end of the day that's what I want to be doing. And I have a 1/8 riser under my rear truck, so it kind of gives it a bit more inclination towards the front, a bit more of a directional feel, a bit more weight on your front foot without you really having to think about it, and that kind of just helps me control the board a bit more. I don't really know what it does exactly, but it feels good, and that's what I've been doing for a while. I know Harry's board, his Madrid board, is flush mounted only in the front, so you get that exact same feel without the riser in the rear, which is nice because it lowers your center of gravity while maintaining that directional aggressive feel. So in the trucks, I have a 78 front, so blue cone and blue barrel. Blue cone roadside, blue barrel board side. With the 2020s, I was riding a 73A roadside barrel, short barrel, and then the 78A board side. But with these, the ZM1s, I find that with the spherical, there's not as much input from the insert because it's just a metal spherical. And so there's something about if I have, this is my feeling, but if I have a barrel up front, it kind of gives me a bit too much response through corners because there's a bit more urethane trying to push it back. So the cone kind of eliminates that, gives me a lot of dive, and then the board side kind of lets me get back onto the center when I want it to, but it never is trying to put me back on the center, which I really appreciate. In the back, I have 93A roadside and 95A board side. This kind of just is the standard these days. I really like it. It used to be pink board side and then glow in the dark roadside, but I feel like the green kind of gives you a bit more lean, and so you can put a bit more pressure laterally, I guess. And at K&K actually, I was riding and I figured I'm gonna be doing more stand-ups. I'm gonna put the glow in the dark back in because I don't want it to be turning as much. I don't want it to flip on me. And after a couple runs, I realized I was not having a good time. I realized I put the green back in and it felt a lot better. You can kind of just turn it to the point that it wants to slide a bit quicker. And so it's just a bit more natural to my personal, what I'm used to and to my personal style. So the deck is a highly modified Madrid Truth. I got the shape from the factory. I asked them to take a bit off of the front standing platform. I rode it for a bit and then I took some more off. So at the moment it is 9 inches on my back standing platform and then about 9 inches on my front standing platform. I left a tiny bit more board on my heel side edge just so I can tuck leaning. I can push into that heel side a bit more and it helps me go around rights, and then lefts my foot is not all the way to the rail on the toe side edge of my board, and so I took some off so I can have this wedge, this bracket a bit closer to my toe, so I can get the edge of the board a bit closer to my toe, but my riding is not symmetrical horizontally, I guess, so that's how I cut it. The concave on the Truth is extremely simple. I think it's called the TR3 or something. Super simple. I used to ride a rolling tree board and a Cedia, and that just had crazy W, the most comfortable W concave on the market, in my opinion, and that was back then. So I was kind of anxious getting onto a Madrid board because I knew their concaves were pretty mellow. But once I stood on it, I knew with the torque block, with a Footstop, it's really all you need in good grip tape. I like to put a little insert under my front toe. You can get a Max Caps silicone insert. I use some remnants of my torque block, the parts that I cut off the edge. And that kind of just gives me a bit more feeling of where my toe is and a tiny bit more leverage, but I don't really think it contributes that much to the leverage. But yeah, the board is really flat, really comfortable. The edges are what I need to feel, and so for the board, yeah, that's about it. So the dimensions of the board: 31 long. I cut off the tail. I feel like having a tail on a board, especially a racing board, kind of gives you more weight to swing around. It's pretty much the opposite of putting a weight under your front foot. So I like to cut off the the tails on my board. I realized this when I cut a board just to fit it into my suitcase, and I realized how much better it was. So since then I've kind of just been riding no tail, and I like the look of a longer nose, but it's really not that much longer. So 31 long, sorry, I went on a tangent, but 31 long. The wheelbase is, base plate to base plate is 18.5 inches, but that makes it about 21 axle to axle. I like the shorter wheelbase. I've been playing around with it. I used to be on a 23 axle to axle, so I brought it in about 2 inches, which is quite a bit. But I really like it. My feet are much more on top of the trucks. I moved my front foot up relative to my old board, and I like having my back foot really over the back wheels. Riding with all the European guys, I learned that I think there's a bit more advantage in that than having you're not fishing the tail around so much. It's really exactly what the inputs you're putting in. But yeah, so that's my board. The construction of the Madrid Truth, or at least this one, is an 8-ply maple. 8-ply maple. Construction is 8-ply maple, sandwiched between 2 plies of Formica. And it's been working really good for me with such a short board. There's a lot of stiffness. I'm really excited for what we're going to be working on with Madrid in the coming year. So yeah, that's what I ride for deck. And then on top of my board, I have Seismic Lokton. I think it's the best in the game. The paperback grip kind of just gives it so much longevity. No heat application, you don't have to heat it up or anything. The adhesive is pressure activated. So just by standing on it, you activate the glue and it sticks really well. So I think in colder weathers it can be beneficial compared to other boards. And yeah, the 36 grip does everything you need. I like to put a cloth-backed Griptape on my torque block just because with the extra movement that comes with the torque block being a piece of foam, the paper and the material that the rocks are stuck to kind of break apart from each other, and so it breaks down quite quickly. So I like using cloth-backed, but just on the torque block. Other than that, it's all Seismic Lokton. So Footstop and my front foot, lots of things are going on. I have a lock Footstop. It's on a Venom insert, just so it can kind of raise it up a bit and really be over my front foot. And then I've just been playing around with this recently, but the metal bracket in front of my toe, I don't use it when I'm leaning or anything. There's no force being applied to it when I'm actually skating. But if I hit a little rough patch or I grip up strangely, it just prevents my toe from really coming off the board. And so I always have that heel side leverage that I want to go around rights. And as I explained, I just have just a tiny bit of torque block under my front foot. There's also a good way to use duct tape. You can just layer duct tape and you can kind of shape it a bit better than a torque block, because torque block is just flat. I used to do that on a lot of my boards, but torque block works just as well, and I like the angle of it. It takes a lot of duct tape to get up to this height, so yeah. And then the metal bracket kind of just fixed on with 2 bolts. I just got a T bracket, and I bent it and cut it a bit so it fit onto my board well. But yeah, another alternative for this style of footstop is the Riptide Ambroise slab footstop, Ambroise Pro footstop. I was riding it last year. I really like it. It comes with different heights of, I guess, spacers, you could call them. There's a better word, but I'll go with spacers, and you can adjust the height pretty precisely to the shoe that you're wearing, so it really fits to your foot and shoe fits to your shoe nicely. But the insert is good for me, and I like the length of the lock footstop. It kind of applies the force in a larger area. My pinky toe gets kind of sensitive after a lot of riding, so this kind of mitigates that a bit. I think that's everything on my board. Yeah, I think that's it on my board. So standing on my board, these are the shoes I wear. As you can see, I've been wearing them for a while. But I wanted to show you guys the Becker free break soles. That's what I use. I've tried free break, and I've also tried UB, and I think both of those are good options. But I've never understood why we have texture on the bottom of our foot brake soles. In theory, it's better for rain, but these have no texture. It's really just material, and I really like that because it's just way more contact with your grip tape. I've tested them in rain, skateboarding and foot braking, and they work just as well. I don't foot brake very often, so it's not something I've tested extensively, but in my experience, the material is doing its job, especially on the grip tape. That's what I like about the Lokton and the 36 grit, is that even if it's raining, it really doesn't change anything. One thing that I really like about these is, since there's no like lines cut out of them, since there's no pattern, and they last a bit longer because there's a bit more material contact, and so it's wearing off a bit everywhere. And also with the pattern, sometimes it would rip at a thinner part, but in this case you just put it on the foot. I'll do a tutorial on how to do it, but yeah, it kind of just works super well. So that's pretty much what I ride. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Make sure to comment down below or reach out if you have any further questions, or if there's anything that I didn't point out very well. Yeah, just let me know and I'll try to respond. Thank you very much.